Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show till Mets do us part. John from Brooklyn, Gibby reps NJ. With the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? Is real fun. Just like Mookie, I will, son. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Till Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get to yapping.
What is up, everyone? Good to see you. Matt Ibanez here, a.k.a. Ibby. Till Mets Do Us Part, checking in with you live on a Wednesday, 5:30 p.m., a little after 5:30, 5:35 right now, Eastern Standard. And oh my God, do we have a good show for you today. As you can see, I am flying solo. I am by myself. My partner, John Saponaro, is up in the air right now. Somewhere in this world, John is flying, doing what he does best for his job. Look, he's Mr. Worldwide at this point. He's here when he can be here. And again, when he is up in the air or he's in that Delta Sky Lounge, be careful. He's on Twitter. He will find you. He will say something to you, and odds are he'll probably start a fight with you. But either way, we have a big show planned today, and I thought, you know what? I could go solo. It's easy for me to go solo, but I thought, you know what? I'm not going to go solo. I'm going to bring someone on, someone that I've wanted to bring on. Before I bring that person on and let him plug all of the stuff and have a great conversation today, I want to give a quick shout out to the chat. We got 41 people in here so far, and I'm sure that's going to fill up as the chat and as the show moves on, I should say. But obviously, shout out to everyone that is here. We got Charlie in here. We got Armand saying hello to everyone. We got Carlos Ortiz. We got Brad saying what's up to the chat. We got PB, Patty NYC, our favorite. Love that she's here, saying hi to Mets fans. Look, we got a lot of the usual suspects in here. Love seeing a lot of conversation going on within the chat, which I love. And obviously, when I have somebody on, it makes it a lot easier to work that chat and find some good questions, and we can answer them along the way. But we do have some important topics to hit on, which we will. But like I said, I will do my best to work in the chat as much as possible. Having said all of that, it's time to introduce my guest. A lot of you know who he is because I see a lot of you frequent his chat when he goes live over on his channel. I'm in there as well, having some fun, listening to great music, as always, and having a good time. But his name is Mr. Keith Diaz, a.k.a. KEEF, kicking it with Keith over on Twitter. What's up, Keith? How you doing, man?
What's up, homie? How are you? Thank you for the invitation, man. Shout out the whole Mets Do Us Part community, man. Shout out to John. I know he can't be here. He's in the middle of, like, you know, Africa somewhere, like just saving some
yelling at
folks
someone on
stuff.
Twitter still. He's probably still yelling at someone.
Yeah, that's for sure. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you. Happy 4th of July, ladies and gentlemen. Nah, man, thank you. I very much appreciate the invitation to joining you guys today, man. I'm very excited for the show.
Yeah, like I've been saying, we were just talking a lot off air, and I know Armand in the chat would appreciate this. We were talking wrestling for a good 20 minutes.
We actually were.
Like, we got to stop because we got a Met show to talk about.
We were gonna go past though, yeah.
But no, we were having a great conversation of it. I'm sure that's going to pour over into this one. And I was telling you that, and I'll let the chat know as well. I was really pumped up to get you on. I've been wanting to get you on. I thought that we would have a really strong conversation, and John was jealous. He won't say it, but he was a little jealous that I got John and he wasn't here. But either way, we'll make sure to get you back on when
100%.
John is available.
100%.
And I have no doubt that we're going to crush it today and have a great show.
Yes, sir.
But first things first, we got to say this because, you know, the move was made. It's made official. It is Christian Scott Bump Day. He is finally back
Yes, sir.
And then, let's be honest here. Now, shout out to CP. He's not in the chat right now, but he's been pushing this for a long time. And we caught a little flack when we mentioned it when it came to the London series and how we thought Christian Scott should not have been, sent down. But he's finally back, and it's needed and it's warranted. And I had been saying that Christian Scott, in my opinion, was at the time the best pitcher in terms of stuff on this team. And look, things have changed. Guys have stepped up, especially since Francisco Alvarez came back. Guys have gotten a lot sharper. But it's great to see Christian Scott here, and hopefully he can be a big part for this team moving forward, especially into the second half.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Scott, for me, because of his age and where he's at in his career, I understand they wanted to limit his innings. Totally okay with me. Not a problem. I just feel like now we can't. I think we're good now. We can leave him up here to cook. We can leave him here to even get better on his craft. I love him. I actually love him so much that I can tell you that he's still not where he needs to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think his secondary and his third pitch can use a little bit more crisper work, but I think it'll come. He's a kid. I want it to be done up here. I want him to learn how to kind of bounce back, kind of like way back when DeGrom got shelled, I believe, versus the Rangers, and he's in the dugout head down, and Collins picks his head up and whatnot. Like, not saying I want that to happen, but I feel like those growing pains, I want them to happen here with the veterans, with the leadership crew that we have right now. And this is a really, really good opportunity for a young pitcher of his ilk to kind of like make a staple for his career moving forward, because we all know the situation come the winter. There may or may not be some shakeup or whatnot, but he can be a mainstay, and he can be one of these guys that we can look forward to in the future to say, that's our horse. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad he's up. I'm excited to see if he improved on anything. Big strikeout guy. Fastball to me is very electric. It's a different 97. I call it a popcorn fastball because it's right at you.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for him. I'm glad that it took this long. Shout out to CP because he actually told me July 5th he'd be up. So he was off a few days. He was close. He was probably the closest one. And I was going to secretly give him a bobblehead because I do little bobblehead giveaways or whatever. But I'm glad he's up. It's a nice gift for the 4th of July for the New York Mets.
Absolutely. And we got about 111 people in here so far. Shout out to all of you. Make sure you are hitting like on the channel. Make sure you're subbing the channel as well, liking the video. If you're over on the Twitter side, thank you so much as well. Don't be afraid to jump into the comments there. Retweet everything you see. Follow me, follow John, follow the show. And don't forget to follow KEEF as well as Shay and Sons. Now, having said all of that, you mentioned leadership. We're going to talk more about JD Martinez and his leadership a little bit later on in the show. But I have to bring this up now, because I've said to you off air, and I'm going to say it again, that I love when you speak because you're honest. You put things out there. You're unapologetic at times. Like, look, this is the way I feel. That's it. It's like take it or leave it. It's like, and I appreciate that because sometimes people do need that. So I've seen a lot of discourse, not from you, but like other people. But this is why I want to ask the question. We had the month of June, which is famously known as the June swoon. But things changed, whether people were calling them the gay Mets, the grimace Mets, the gay grimace Mets, whatever we wanted to call them.
I loved it all.
It was a fantastic time.
It was awesome.
They did incredible. I said at the beginning of June, I was like, look, if this team wants to get back into it, they're going to have to go like 16-8 in the month of June. And guess what? That's basically what they kind of did.
Yeah.
But OMG. Oh my God! It's in the thumbnail this week. It's in the description. It's everywhere. It's a catchy song, man. It's on my playlist. I listen to it in the car. My girls are loving it too now as I'm playing it for them. It's a lot of fun, and you've seen how Jose Iglesias in general has really taken this team by storm for a guy with a minor role, playing second base here and there, spot starter, what have you. But the song, the celebration, the OMG sign now, are you on board with all of it as a rallying cry, if you will? And do you think that it's too much from other people that are like complaining about it in the sense of like, grow up, it's minor league, like all this nonsense, like in comparison to where this team was into where they are now because of OMG and the song in general? Like, what is your overall thoughts with it, at its peak, which is where it is right now, where it's going to go moving forward, you think?
Anybody got a problem, it could kiss my ass, honestly.
I agree.
I honestly, that's our thing. Listen, nobody goes in the Met community and goes to the Toronto Blue Jays and tell them to stop wearing the jacket. Nobody goes to the Cleveland Guardians and tell them to stop using the pizza spike from the Caesar sponsors they have. You know, no one really, like, we can be corny, yeah, but it's our version of corny, and if it works, it works. To me, the best part about it is that it's really brought a lot of people together. It's actually brought a lot of people together from different communities, different walks of life. For them to do that on Pride, to have a Latino man do that, to see, you know, the white players, the Spanish players, black, whatever, just come to, and it just felt like a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like the Mets won. Even Jeff McNeil got a home run, so no one hated Jeff McNeil for a few hours. And it just felt like no one could complain, no one could say anything unless you were being a hater. Yeah. So, listen, we're not perfect, but you know what? If those rallying cries kind of, you know, push us or project us to where we want to be on a baseball field, then so be it. You know, they could call it a novelty act all they want. But if I'm not mistaken, in 1969, the black hat, I mean, whatever, 1986, the snow in the nose, like, it is what it is. Like, we just find these weird things to just use adrenaline and just boost to the next level. The Mets, personally, are always going to be, like, that second city, like, team to fall in love with. When they become their own entity, and they have their own identity of whatever they want to be, then you start looking at comments on Twitter saying, damn, can we borrow Grimace? Damn, the Mets are having fun. Damn, I like that song. You know, there's videos of Ketel Marte playing the Oh My God song. There's videos of the Oakland A's playing it as warm-up to batting practice. So even, like, just take away the Mets for a minute, Iglesias clearly has a career in music, and that's pretty awesome. He's a veteran. He's been around the league a little bit. I'm sure, you know, the baseball community is pretty tight with one another. They're all going to support him. They'll all download the music. It's cool that we also have an ownership, a very family-driven ownership to kind of really support this man and to support even, like, the folks on Pride, to support, like, the Grimace stuff. Like, I understand we got the hospital patch. Next year, I've been saying it got to be a McDonald's patch because at this point, it's our thing now. You know what I'm saying? So, listen, at the end of the day, like, me and you could bang numbers against the wall all we want. And we can analyze things like if we're GMs from our homes. Baseball's supposed to be fun. We can't watch this with, like, anger. We can't. No. Because what we're going to do is what a lot of us, me included, did in, like, late April, early May. It's just hate the fact that we're watching something that we technically love. Right. What I'm watching now, and I see Grimace come on the screen, I see him shaking, that's fun. Like, it makes the Mets fun. And I just think it's so nice to take a break from the toxicity that this fan base unfortunately has a magnet for, and we can actually, like, it just feels nice that everyone got a smile on their face, especially the most negative fans are just like, wow, this is fun.
Yeah, and I think to continue that point, like I mentioned it last week, just talking about how, you know, this team in April and May, you watched this team as closely as I did, as did others, and others mentioned this as well. You watched a team that went out there that was not only playing bad baseball and not fundamentally sound baseball, but they looked like they hated each other. They did not look as though
we were saying, me and you kept saying that, like, they look like they just don't like each other.
And like you said, like the melding of everyone coming together because of one thing is what matters. And you've played the game. I've played the game. Others have played the game at varying levels, what have you. When you're out there and having fun, it changes everything. If you're out there grinding nonstop and you just can't get out of your own way and you're pissed off and you're doing all these things, like, you're not going to get out of your own way and you're not going to win ball games. And that's what was happening with this team. And what I think about that as a segue here, you know, they're in this series right now with the Nats, and watching that game on Monday, even yesterday, you know, they're in that game on Monday and they're down 2-0, and the way things are going. And you're just like, man, you know, Mackenzie Gore's having a good year. They did well against him last time, but he's having a good year. Mets always struggle against lefties, and you know, he's going through 5. He's kind of cruising. And, you know, the bats aren't there. Nothing's happening. It's like, man, But maybe it's not there today. It sucks because that would be 3 in a row. You're just like, maybe they don't have it. But then they fight and they come back and they win the game. And that's something that, in my opinion, would not have happened if this whole thing wasn't going on, if this camaraderie wasn't built, because this team loses that game in April and May. No doubt in my mind. They roll over. They roll over. You don't see good at bats. You don't see fight. And if you want to equate that and say the difference was, having Alvarez, not having Alvarez, there could be a conversation there. But in general, this team would have rolled over. Same thing yesterday. They would have rolled over. But what do? They explode late in the game. They fight and they win the ball games. That would not have happened if it wasn't for this brotherhood that's getting stronger and stronger. And of course, a big shout out has to go as well to Carlos Mendoza, who is keeping together.
I love that man.
And it's crazy because a lot of people, not Met fans mostly, but a lot of people were ragging on Mendoza in the beginning because they were like, "Oh, it looks like this team is just falling down further." Kids like, but you said it, I said it, John said it, like. He has a grasp. He knows what's going on. He knows he knows how to handle this. You got to give it a little more time. And we're starting to see that pay off moving forward. But in general, for me, OMG, great song. Love the vibes that it's bringing. People want to hate on it. People want to hate on Grimace. They want to, I don't care. Get lost. Screw you. It's our thing. We're going to do what we want to do. It's helping this team win ball games. And that's all that matters to me. And saying that, I want to hop over to the chat real quick because I want to bring up Rosie's comment really fast, saying how I'm just glad that the team is winning. That's all I care about. I don't care how they get there, which is true. You don't give a damn. Just win the ball games. You can say, you can do all the celebrations you want. Doesn't matter. As long as you're out there having fun and winning ball games, that's all fans care about. Same thing with Keith Blacknick here, the media goon himself, runner of the QBC. It's finally a fun team again. It's finally a fun team to watch. For the longest time, at the beginning of the season, this team was what? It was background noise. Yeah. Baseball's there every day for you. But sometimes you turn it on, and then guess what? You're doing other things. You might not sit there. You might not sit there the entire game. Now, my wife doesn't like it because now I'm really back to watching the game fully. Like I'm really involved. She's like, again, and I was like, well, they're back in. Like they're winning ball games. We're having so much fun. So, yes, to the dismay of my wife a little bit. But other than that, things are going well. Rosie also saying that OMG is such a great song. It's so catchy. It really is.
It is. I was really listening to it today in my head. I didn't even have it playing. Just hear it.
I had it playing in the car this morning on my way to work. Rosie also saying that the team is vibing. That's all that matters. And, of course, Tank coming in here and letting everyone know. That
my man T. What's up, brother?
So, good stuff as always. And, again, keep those comments rolling in. And, wait a minute. I was just having a conversation with someone the other day saying how Paul Revere, the man on his horse hadn't been in here for a while. But guess what? Now he's here. My horse loves the song and he knows it. So thank you, Paul Revere. It's been a minute since I've seen you in the chat. So hopefully all is well with you, Paul. And thank you.
He's still kicking. God bless. Holy moly.
But we mentioned before the leadership and how things have changed for this team. And we're going to talk about the youth movement. We're going to talk about Alvarez and Veintos in a minute, but we're going to talk about JD Martinez. We talked about JD Martinez the last 2 weeks on here, but I want to keep it going because it's really clear to me that he is providing something that this team has lacked for a long time. And it's just, it's know with all. It's people have called him a hitting savant. And it's really starting to show out because when you have Gelbs dropping things, and we just talked off air about Matthew Brownstein putting out a great stat, when it came to, working in Syracuse and bringing in the weighted bat, and Jose Iglesias is slugging went from 350 before JD to 500 after JD helping him. It's like these things are really playing out. You're seeing how he's helped Lindor. You see how he's helped Nimmo. You're seeing how these other guys are in his, are in his ear asking questions, and it's bleeding through everything, which is great. And I'm not going to give credence, and I'm not going to say names because they don't deserve it to certain people that want to say, oh, he's old and you should trade him because he has value. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not going to give them, traffic towards what they want. But when I hear stuff like that, it pisses me off because it's like, because there are Mets fans I know that think, oh, he is old, cash in while you can. It's like, you are a team in transition. Yes, you have a lot of youth, And having a player like this, regardless of age, and he's still performing, mind you, he's still doing great. He is giving something to this team that's going to be able to help them move into that next era for this offense moving forward, even when he is, gone, whatever that may be. But that in general, to me, is why, JD Martinez has been so important to this team.
I see when those conversations arise about, hey, we should move on or cash in or anything like that, in my opinion, that's usually someone who's not watching the team 9 innings every day, because he's not only providing production, he's providing something that this organization, the whole organization, has lacked, and it's true wherewithal of his craft. We're talking about a master of his craft. This man is a bona fide hitting genius. Yeah, I'm not putting him in the Elks of Tony Gwynn. I'm not. But for the past 10 years, he is this era's Edgar Martinez. Easily. It's not even close. He is literally our Edgar Martinez. And many Met fans, including myself, for years wanted this man. When we tried to get him, we tried to trade for him while he was in Boston, tried to get him in free agency. We all know about his back history, whatnot. But, I mean, the data shows that this man was always the perfect piece to put between Lindor and Alonso in some way, whatever. And it just fit like a glue. And I think what he has provided for the younger statesmen of this team is more valuable than any prospect we could get back in return for a 36-year-old slugger, in my opinion. Because these are the guys that have developed within. These are the guys who are homegrown. And these are the guys who needed that extra, just that extra arm around their shoulder to just give them a different view of things. I'm not here to criticize Chavez or Barnes. That we can do a podcast about that a whole nother time. But when you got a guy in the trenches with you every day, giving you what he's seeing, and you see what he's doing, you see how he's working, iron sharpens iron. I've always said this. You want to get a guy who you can really sit there and say, yo, that's my dude, but that's also a dude I want to be better than. So I got to know what he's doing. I got to be better than him. I got to see what he's doing. He's coming in 15 minutes early. I want to come in 30 minutes early. I want to try and upstage him because he's 36. How is he doing this better than me? I'm younger. I'm faster. More quote unquote talented. But look what he's doing. And to me, when you got a guy like that who's selfless, who's just willing to be your sponge and see your weakness and say, look, this is what we can do. There hasn't been a guy in this lineup in a very long time that I feel like can do that. And I genuinely think he is the key to everything. I really feel that way. I would even bring him back next year. I don't need to see the next few months, because if he's healthy, it's almost like copy and paste with this brother. Yeah. He is a very important Met. It sucks we got him at this stage. Wish we would have had him for 4 or 5 years. Maybe we would have got a ring 2 years ago. Who knows? Yep. But the point is that when you got that set, that vet, and another thing, real quick.
Yeah.
This is a champion. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is a world. We're not talking about just a really good hitter. We're talking about a champion, and we're talking about a guy who's played in Boston, a guy who's played in LA, in Houston, he's been around. His resume holds its own, and we play in a very toxic community in New York with the media, and in one ear, out the other. Nothing phases him, and that trickles down throughout the lineup, and we never had that before.
No, 100%. And like you said, he is just very laser focused, and it's crazy because I know they were talking about on the broadcast the other day too, of how hard it really is to be a DH, to just go out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, whether when you play, when I play, when others play as well, it's hard to just sit there and stay focused. Sometimes you got to go out in the field and then you focus on something new and you're moving and doing whatever. But when you're just a hitter, it's you go up there, and then if you strike out, then you got to sit there for 2 innings, stew in it, but you got to remain focused. And this guy, it doesn't matter that he doesn't play the outfield anymore. He's out there busting his ass still. Now, granted, we got to make sure that the guy gets proper cleats. Thankfully, he got 3 new pairs, so things are going to go.
You would think a major league club, right?
You would think, but we'll blame Adidas. We'll blame Adidas on that one. But it's still great to see that he is as focused as he's ever been at the age of 36. And he says, look, when I go places, I go to make the playoffs. I go to put in work. And look, we're still a ways away. There's still a lot of the season left. But if there's one thing that definitely has come out of this, I would say that him finally locking in and getting proper, as it took him a while to get, because obviously he had the later start to the season, because we got him for nickels on the dime when, as you can say, someone put it in here, Joe K saying how we got him for a bargain. But because of that said bargain, it took us a while to get him, on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Once he finally got right, and I believe it was the second week of May, if I remember correctly. I think it was the second week of May when he started to get things right. This lineup, it took off. And look, we can talk about Lindor, and Lindor's been phenomenal at the leadoff spot, first at bat of the game. His numbers are ridiculous, but in general, he's been thriving. But really, once JD got locked in, providing protection for others and moving to the 3 spot, like everything for this lineup has been surging. And it's a reason why I, titled the episode what I did. This offense is surging because of him. He's a big part of it.
He is a very big opposite field hitter. All of a sudden, everyone's going opposite field. You can see his philosophy is trickling down. And you know what? If me and you are on the same team, Ibby, and you start picking up on something before the coach does, or maybe they're not seeing it, and I'm on the field with you, like I'm gonna be like, yo, Ib, what do you see in there? You know what I'm saying? Like, talk to me. And that's a baseball player mentality. You know what I'm saying? You are always trying to find that advantage in any facet. And we all know that this team has lacked sort of that element in many facets. We got a lot of guys who play together, but they don't know what it is to do what he's done on the stage that he's done. And the fact that when we had that whole Jorge Lopez situation, it was like he took accountability. He didn't do anything wrong, but he took accountability. He's like, listen, there's no excuse now. We got nothing to lose. Right? We got to go play baseball. And you know what? When I heard him say that, it made me feel better. I'm like, wow, like I feel like I'm in the trenches with him. And I think for guys like Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso and Nimmo, those guys, it's more important to see what he does for the young guys, because then they start becoming their own leaders. Because those guys are going to be here long term. I don't care what anybody says. They're all going to be here long term. And then you start developing some sort of culture with the core that everyone wanted to get rid of. At one point, everybody was like, get rid of the core. I even said it at one point myself. But then when you start doing these things, it's from veteran all the way down to first year player, second year player, and you start developing how the Mets approach baseball games and how they game plan and how they prepare. To me, preparations is key. The way they prepare now clearly is different than how they prepared in the past. And we sat through a really bad year last year. None of this is a mirror of that, But when we didn't have JD and we struggled for those first 2 weeks or whatever it was, we went 0-5 or whatever,
right?
Everyone's like, well, what's changed? As things develop, like you said, the best thing that probably happened was we actually played it really safe. We let him cook in the minors. We were like, you know what? This is what he wants. He knows how to get himself right. And that goes back to preparation. He didn't rush in. He knew that, my method of getting right is what I'm going to trust the best. I'm not just going to run up to Queens and get in and bat DH and just start swinging. No. I'm going to do it this way. And that has been a true indictment of what we're seeing now. Right now, the Mets are a hell of an offensive team. And a lot of people here that are diehard Met fans have not said that for many years. And it's a beautiful thing.
100%. I just want to bring up Steph's other comment that she said, saying how she said it before. I'll say it again. What JD said at team meeting went a long way. And look, I think what JD, and I said this when it happened, like JD being part of that meeting and saying how, when I first got here, I didn't want to step on toes. I didn't want to make it seem like I was above other people. You wait and you feel things out. And then eventually people will come to you and say, hey, what do you think? What about this? What about that? And then you saw how what he did and how he handled himself, how it really rubbed off on Francisco Lindor, and how he was able to, speak more. Then you noticed in post games that things started becoming less monotonous and people were actually having a conversation and listening and saying different things and not saying the same thing over and over.
The copy and paste stuff started to end. Yes.
It started to end. Like we finally started to find a little bit more of a rhythm. And I think you have to, you develop that when you finally, come together as an actual team. And I think that meeting went a long way in basically saying that, look, we know what we can be. If you look across baseball, when you look at the NL in general, you look at it and you go, look, this team is where they are right now. How is it? It's a game and a half. Are they out of the wild card? I don't have it in front of me.
Actually,
but
right here.
But whatever it may be,
one game.
You look at the other teams. One game. Okay, so you're one game out of that wild card spot. You could still look at the other teams there and you go like, when things are going proper, and if you are actually focused here, you have a better roster. As much as people question it, and that's all Mets fans do is question everything. You know, you look at this roster, you go, they can actually do something. So when you had the top 5 in this lineup finally providing, you know, it really shows you that, look, a couple of things here and there, if they can break and we can maybe make one move and just like shore something up, like we could do a little bit of damage here, because the NL, like we said at the beginning of the season, top heavy, very top. And I'm not sitting here saying that, oh, this team's going to the World Series. Look, I've been saying one game at a time. I'm not looking ahead, one game at a time. Do your job, do what you got to do, one game at a time. But in general, they seem like they are firing on all cylinders offensively. Now, for the second half of the show, we'll get into it in a minute. We're going to talk more about the bullpen and how that's been a roller coaster, to say the least. Exactly. God bless. You know, we need the Doves. Let the Doves out on that one. But before we get there, before we go into the break.
It's my wrestling gimmick. You like that? I saved that one for you.
That was a good one. Before we go into the break, I do want to hit on some numbers and the offense when it comes to the youth, and JD being a part of that as well, obviously. But this team has really taken off, and the depth and length of the lineup has really changed over the last month or so because of what's been provided by Francisco Alvarez and Mark Veintos.
Big time.
Veintos. Look, I know Tone's here as well. He's going to want me to, you know,
that's his man's.
That's his man. He's going to want me to, you know, to admit defeat in a couple of things when it comes to Veintos. But look, I want Veintos to continue to, you know, grab the bull by the horns, and that's what he's done. He is doing something that Brett Beatty has never done, and that is look completely competent in the box and providing legit power. Like when I'm seeing dead central shots of 450 into the black, like this guy's locked in. And I have something right here that I'll just say real quick. And of course, shout out to Matthew Brownstein. I'm going to read it off real quick. Mark Veintos has played 40 games with the Mets this season and owns a .574 slugging percentage. That's the highest slugging percentage by a Mets hitter in his first 40 games of the season, with a minimum of 140 at-bats since Pete Alonso did it in 2019, which was .581.
We don't develop hitters, Ibby. We don't develop hitters.
No. But Veintos has been incredible. The numbers when it comes to Alvarez and what he does.
Love that, man.
And look, I know that it came out a couple days ago with Alvarez, and I know you're a huge Alvarez guy, as am I, and talking about what he loved about Juan Soto. And it wasn't an article that was written in terms of like, oh, Juan Soto is going to be a Met, like nothing like that. It was more so talking about Juan Soto as a ball player, his charisma, how he carries himself. And when you watch Francisco Alvarez, and it's becoming more and more apparent, I want to say in like the last week or so, he is truly starting to look like an absolute superstar. And shout out to Joe DeMayo and Connor Rogers, who did a piece on this as well. But the more and more I watch him, and you can talk on this now too, the more and more I watch him, how he handles the staff, how he handles himself in the box, how he gets fired up on the bases. This is something that this team has lacked for a very, very long time. Like when I think of like a fiery ball player, you know, whether it's on the bases or in the box in general, like I have to think back to, you know, I know Lindor is a different type of animal, but like when it comes to like cockiness and things like that, like you look back to like a Jose Reyes, even like it's been a while when it comes to players like that. But when I see Alvarez, I see a legit budding superstar, and it looks as though at the age of 22, he's really ready to take on this onus of that pressure, and it seems like he's even thriving off it.
Yeah. I honestly, I could talk about this young man so highly, like for hours, because it's crazy. So many of the big MLB aficionados, big fish who work wherever they work in big high places, right?
Yeah.
They tend to forget this was the number one prospect in baseball, not in the Met system, in baseball, and he's living up to the bill. My favorite part about Francisco Alvarez lately is that when we got all these butchers in the bullpen and they interview Alvarez after a win, he's like, I love these guys. I trust them no matter what. It doesn't matter who's pitching. I trust them. I trust their stuff. You know, like, we all know, like, that's part of the core to say something like that.
Right.
But when you look at him with this big smile, those big cheeks, like, he really believes what he's saying. Yeah. And I really think when it's public that you work, listen, you could take Yankee hate aside, whatever, but regardless of the fact, ball players are going to hang out with ball players. Juan Soto is walking to the Hall of Fame. When you got a guy like that putting this guy under his wing and say, yo, what's up? And then him even saying, like, yo, Alvy's, like, legit, man. Like, there's something there. Like, that to me, like I said it in the past, iron sharpens iron. I want all these ball players to work with each other. I want that. They're going to pick up nuances that they never had before. And for this young man to work with a player of that ilk, it just screams that superstar mantra that you're saying you see. I see it too. My favorite part about Francisco Alvarez is that he just has this innocence, like, swagger. Yes. And he doesn't even know he's doing it. He doesn't even understand what he's doing. Like, he hasn't even gripped the fact that we don't even know what that we've been lacking. We've been dying for that. We've been begging for a player to bring that sort of energy. And for me, for that young man to not only learn English and to get right healthy and to start developing his hitting tools in a different way, because we all know he can send the ball 450 feet. Now you're seeing him work counts. He's probably in the past, like, month had the most 3-2 counts of anybody on the team. He's walking at a certain rate that I didn't think he could walk. He's hitting the ball in certain places I didn't think he hit the ball. And even Veintos, I wanted to touch on Veintos lately has just, even the doubles, the singles. It's like, yo, something's happening here. Again, back to JD Martinez being that the adult in the room, as my man Edge says, but it trickles down. And Francisco Alvarez to me means so much to this organization. Not only on a play, like a performance standpoint, but you're looking at a guy who's batting 6th, and he's probably a 35 home run threat. When we won 101 games, we wish we had that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't even know what that was, a 5th hole, 6th hole batter hitting maybe 30 to 35 home runs. Now we're running 7 men deep. Yeah. Pause. But we're running, the lineup is crazy, and he not only is he's hitting to a point where he's making you believe he can be the best catcher in baseball in the National League. He's going to have, like my brother, shout out to my baby brother. At one point, he's going to go to a bar with Adley Rushman, and people are going to have that conversation. They're going to sit at a bar together. They're going to have a drink together, and people are going to have that conversation. And we're going to be like, you know what I'm saying? And, hey, there's no shade to Adley Rushman. Probably the best catcher in baseball. But the point is that he's on that path. And a lot of people won't acknowledge it because he wears orange and blue, but the orange and blue fans will acknowledge it. Yes. And I just think, personally, the Mets got to do everything they can to lock this kid in. Yes. They have to, because this is the missing ingredient. This is that grilled chicken sandwich that has that barbecue spice to it. Because we got the dry lettuce with Nimmo and Alonso. You know what I'm saying? We got the buns with Lindor and I don't know, probably Pete or whatever.
If you're talking buns, I think you got to talk about your guy JD Martinez. If you're talking about buns.
Oh, there you go. You got the 2 buns. You know what I'm saying? You got the dry lettuce. You know, with Alonso and Nimmo. But then you got the meat, the core of everything, which probably Stearns and the owner. But you just need that little spice, and that's Francisco Alvarez, man.
It's crazy. Like, I just want to bring up some of these comments real quick from DJ here over on Twitter saying that Alvy, he's showing that his confidence is, he's a beast behind the plate. Love watching him, and I'm sure that transfers to the team. Look, if there's one thing that's incredible about all of this, it's the fact that we were told, and this is why I've been screaming about Mets development for a while in terms of not noticing things. But maybe that I think it's going to change with Stearns. But how we were told for the longest of times that Alvarez was a complete butcher behind the plate, and it's like I'm seeing everything but that. Like, I loved. You have no idea how angry I would get watching fucking Omar Narvaez behind the plate being lazy and clearly not framing and not sticking strikes and things like that. And now I'm watching my catcher bust his ass back there, stealing strikes, getting strikeouts here and there, helping guys
triples,
the way you're supposed to, like doing all these things. And speaking of triples, Got to bring this one up from Rosie. I love when Albie said that he was happy because he got triple before Veintos. That was funny. That was good stuff.
See, that is the iron sharpens iron mentality that I have seen, that I wanted from this team for so long, because for so long we're like Pete Illendorf. At some point, you got to help these brothers. Now Nimmo, another hitter we've developed, has evolved. You got a third baseman now that you didn't even think he was going to be the third baseman, has evolved. You got a catcher who's living up to every bit of expectation, has evolved. And it's starting to blossom into something really beautiful. Long may it continue, man.
And I'll bring up one thing from Carlos here. And he's not wrong. Alvarez needs to work on blocking pitches to bring his game to perfection. Look, if there is one thing.
I agree.
There's one thing. He does stick to the glove side a little bit too much. He doesn't put his body in front. If there's one critique that we will throw out there, but that is something that can be worked on, and I'm sure he will get better at it. But what was one other thing? When it came to the contract that you're talking about, I think that when Stearns, and it was being brought up and talked about earlier in the off season, saying how you got to do it, and we talked about on here, we're like, look, he still hasn't played a full season from start to finish, and we have what happened, with the injury, what have you. But I think he's really showing now what is there. And I think now it becomes a legit conversation this upcoming offseason. And look, there's still no rush, but still, I think they want to lock it in and get it done. And you can finally put to bed, like, they don't do what the Braves do or what other good teams do, where it comes to, paying their young talent, locking them in at a cheaper price. So then you don't have to worry about it moving forward. You can avoid arbitration, things of that nature. But he has been otherworldly. I love watching him play the game, and I'm very happy that he is wearing the blue and orange. Now, having said all of that, we are going to go into a quick 30-second break. When we come out of the break, we'll have a little bit of fun when it comes to sponsors, and we will we'll continue the conversation, because we got to talk about a lot of the good. Yeah, we got to talk about some of the bad. We got to talk about the bullpen.
That's my kind of conversation.
And then once we're done with the bullpen, we'll get into more when it comes to what lies ahead for this team, as July and the deadline is right around the corner. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. Stick with us. Till Mets do us part. Matt Ibanez here. KEEF over there. Shea and Sons joining. Till Mets do us part. We are back in 30. And just like that, we are back. Welcome in, everyone. Matt Ibanez here, a.k.a. the Till Mets do us part. 6:17 on a Wednesday. We're about 40 minutes into the show. 238 of you are here right now. Appreciate each and every one of you. And a big part of that crowd is probably from my guest today, co-host of the Shea and Sons podcast, Mr. Keith Diaz.
Yes, sir.
Keith, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you.
We have some time right now. You want to plug some of your stuff right now so you can get your stuff out there?
Yeah, man. Check us out. Shea and Sons on Twitter. Also on YouTube. We are dropping a daily trade target option. We're doing a lot of options that names you're not typically known to hear. Today we did a Kyle Finnegan video, which is a guy we're playing against right now. Yep, we're checking him out. And we're looking into a lot of options that can help the team even defensively. We're going to have players that no one's really talking about, probably don't even bring a lot of offense, but they could provide help in the outfield, defensively, certain areas, certain criteria that can help the Mets. But check us out there. We'll be doing a live probably this weekend. But yeah, every week every day we're dropping a new video. So check us out for that. And yeah, man, that's pretty much what we're rocking with right now. Shout out to Baby Brother. He's my co-host and everything. I want to give a big shout out to the people who do fill in when my brother's not there. Top Bunk Sports, appreciate you greatly. Tone from Queens, appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for rocking out and giving us a lot of love. We appreciate you guys, you and John, and all the other Met content creators. I do this on my show all the time. Follow them all. No one, this is not a race. No one here is getting $1 or anything. We are literally talking about the Mets all the time. We're doing it together. I believe that we can make something great here that this fan base needs. So shout out to all the Met content creators out there. Big up every single one of y'all.
we put everyone over, whether it's you
100%.
guys, whether it's Carson,
Big up.
whether it's even Wardy, even though
Oh, yeah.
Wardy's at the top. Wardy's the man, though.
Yeah.
We talk about everyone. We put Ant Rivera, the king.
That's my man's right there. That's my
we
guy.
love Ant. So yeah, we're always putting everyone over. I've been saying from the jump that
Yes, sir.
my whole plan when it came to starting this was I wanted to help be a part of creating a community that was better for Mets fans, as opposed to getting lost in the shit when it comes to radio, when it comes to the nonsense. You want to create a space where you can have people that are having good, honest conversation about the team that they love, and you know that it's with people that are actually watching the team and not just saying things just to say it. So I'm glad that we continue to build that. Like Keith said, it's not a race. We're here supporting everyone, and everyone eats. I've been saying that for a while. Everybody eats.
Sir. And everyone's different, and everyone has their own niche. It's really cool. Like we're the barbershop, talk kind of vibe, and we kind of have fun with it. You guys, you're pretty much the forefront with all the big guests. We love watching you guys when you have even like Terry Collins on, stuff like that. You and John have such a yin and yang to you guys that it makes it a really good show. Our buddy Carson, big numbers guy. Those big guys are great. They invited me on. They're big, and it's like the big uncle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So everyone has a very good niche. And CP, man, the big grinder.
Oh, so yeah, CP's out there every single day it comes to a pre and post. Him and Rob, they're doing a great job over
big
there.
time.
But I'll get back to the chat in a little bit. But again, 241 of you are in here. So again, make sure you like.
Happy 4th.
Subscribe to the channel. Happy 4th to everyone. We are a day out. I am going to be seeing some fireworks shortly. But yes, shout out to everyone. And hopefully you have a happy and a healthy 4th. But to continue the conversation for the second half of this show, we're going to get into a little bit when it comes to the bad. And the bad lately has been this bullpen. And it has been difficult to watch. You have a lot of the Tums are next to you while you're watching this game. And, you have it where even when they pour on, 4, 5, 6 runs, and you're like, okay, we're up 8-2, 8-3, whatever it is. You're just like, I don't know, man. Next thing you know, there's a walk, there's a double, here's a home run, another double. You're like, okay, okay, what the hell's going on here? Like I was ready, and these games are ending late, and you're just like, you're trying to wind down, but then like your heart rate's going up. You're like, Jesus Christ, can we please get out of this?
Right.
So the last 2 nights have been whatever. Last night, not so much because something changed a little bit within the bullpen. We saw Jose Buto coming out of the bullpen, which I think is a needed thing. He went for 2 innings. I understand why he didn't go more because he threw a lot of pitches in his last start. But throwing him in there, you're getting Christian Scott back. Maybe you're going to switch to a 6-man rotation. You're doing all these things to try to figure some stuff out. Losing Edwin Diaz was never ideal. And we know that he hasn't been 100%. We know. But still allowing guys to fall into a proper place. He started to find his footing, and then, of course, the whole thing stuff happened. So we're 3 days away from him being back.
I think your mic is in and out. I think something's going on with the audio.
How about now? You got me?
You sound like you're in water, kind of. Sorry.
Okay. I'll figure it out. Hopefully I can work through it on my end. But when it comes to Diaz, it seems as though we're basically in a spot where it's like you have a lot of injuries. You lose Smith. A lot of guys are not performing well. It's like all these things are happening. It's like you don't have a move to make because you don't have a move to make because it's still a little bit early. You're going to be paying up more for something. Like if you want the Tanner Scotts of the world, you got to pay out the ass to get them. And even for guys that you're saying, you're talking about in division, Kyle Finnegan, there's other options as well, but you're going to have to pay up for them.
Yeah.
So what do you like? What is your thought moving forward? Do you feel as though that this bullpen can be self-regulated as is? Do you think that no matter what, you're going to have to go outside and find more and add to an arm or two? Like, where are you right now when it comes to this bullpen?
I think there's a lot of arms you can't trust in that bullpen, personally. I think right now, unfortunately, unlike the lineup, the bullpen kind of is on fumes. And I think they don't really have that guy right now who they can sit there and say, all right, he's going to calm everything down, which is Edwin, right? And Edwin, I believe in Edwin. I think Edwin will be fine, but he has his trials and tribulations lately, especially this year. So when you don't have that piece around the group for a while, it's pretty tough mentally. It takes a little bit away from the mindset of a lot of these relievers. They probably add on a little bit more pressure than they should. And, you know, high leverage innings are a real thing for relievers. Like, that is probably 100%. The biggest, like, issue with a lot of relievers. So when you take that cog out, you start seeing guys kind of press. You start guys, like, kind of, like, break down a little bit, you know, and it's unfortunate because it's at a time where we're doing so well. Right. You know, we could be doing even better. But, you know, we with a 5-run lead, you're kind of like, you know, clipping your cheeks together, hoping that nothing goes wrong, right? So I think, you know, I think they could use 2 arms personally. I think they need a guy with save experience who they can kind of bridge with Edwin at certain times where they call him the fireman role. If the harder lineup is in the 8th inning, you probably can use him or Edwin there, and then vice versa to close the game out. And I think they definitely need a middle relief guy. I think they need a 7th inning specialist. I like Nunez. I actually think he is a lot better than what they're advertising. They use him a lot, so it seems that Mendy likes him. Reed Garrett, I think, has come down to earth a little bit, so it makes me a little nervy. I don't really think we're going to be seeing Drew Smith at all, probably till next year. Unfortunately, the kid probably tore something. He's done. Ottavino, here's the thing with Ottavino, right, is he has save experience. He also has, like, destroy the game experience, right? So it's like, you know, you don't know what you're going to get. And a lot of the time, he seems like a real big heart on my sleeve kind of guy. If one walk happens or if a stolen base happens or one hit happens, it kind of unravels for the guy. And that happens with a lot of relievers. So it's like you can't have those sort of eggs, you know, in the carton when you're trying to win a wild card. Now, Budo in the bullpen, it's good because we need it right now. I hope I don't see it long term. I do think he could do the Trevor Williams thing. I think he's a perfect fit for that. So that is kind of your long relief kind of situation, kind of fixed in some ways. But you kind of need a guy who could calm everything down after you get to that. You know, like that's maybe come in with stranded runners on and then they could handle the 7th inning. That I don't know how they find that. They're going to have to look hard. They're going to have to look smart. I think Stearns is really good at kind of developing also those sort of problems from within. He's kind of one of those guys that tries to find the answer at home before looking outward. But we have a lot of... Here's my issue. I don't want to sit here in about 3 weeks with you beautiful gentlemen and beautiful ladies and watch the other wild card teams do things that we need to do, because that would only make our life harder come August, come September. And personally, the biggest issue I think is the bullpen. So they're going to have to really have some come to Jesus moments with certain aspects of the organization, maybe down in up in Syracuse, maybe down in Binghamton, and they're going to have to maybe make some real tough decisions. I don't know how I feel about Fujinami. I'm sure they're going to bring him up. I'm pretty sure he's I'm sure he's gonna have a moment. They're gonna give him a chance. I don't know if that is something, you know, I just don't know. But the thing about this trade deadline is probably gonna be very heavily based on some sort of heavy return on bullpen relief.
And I want to bring up some of the comments real quick. Charlie bringing up the obvious, which is, it has to be mentioned. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up yet.
Huge.
7 innings from Manaea yesterday was huge to give that pen a breather. And that's the one thing that we also have to hit on too, is just talking about how this team needs to get length from the starting pitching because of, the overtaxed nature that this bullpen is. And I know Carson's in the comments right now. He mentioned how big of a loss Raley was. I know he attached a joke to it as well, but Raley being out for the year definitely hurt this team as well, because I think it put a lot more pressure on Diekman, and we're seeing that Diekman would have been better off as a secondary lefty as opposed to the main lefty. It's definitely showing on what he's put out to this point. A funny comment here from Charlie saying how for a bunch of guys who are supposed to come in and put out fires, arsonists. That might be the comment of the day. So shout out to Charlie. Always got good ones in there. CP in the building saying, "Hey, being KEEF, what a duo we got here."
Appreciate you, bro.
CP. We gave you a shout out before. Love
there is a sort of line of thinking from a conversation I had with Carson that I do want to bring up with the bullpen.
Go ahead. Yeah,
and specifically it pertains to Sean Manaea. If you guys take a chance everybody out there in the chat, if you look at like his last 3 years, roughly, maybe 2, he's kind of turned into, out in San Francisco, he turned into a relief pitcher. He started games and then he transitioned to the bullpen. In some ways, I think if they do go the route where they can't get a lefty, from the pen, maybe when things get really, really tight in probably September, I can see him probably back-ending a starter. And instead of having maybe a Diekman come in real high leverage situations, they may use Manaea and probably have a spot start with one of the kids or something like that, and use Manaea in a multi-inning situation along with Budo. So I think what we saw yesterday is a little small breadcrumb that could happen. And shout out to Carson who mentioned this. If Diekman, God forbid, he gets hurt because we can't afford any more injuries.
Right.
Maybe a Quintana or maybe a Manaea becomes the left-handed bullpen guy at some sort of stage later in the season.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think that it's in general it's a tough spot right now, because I know people want to like point fingers and say things like, "Oh, why'd you bring in this guy? What about that? What about this? What about that?" Look, they're in a spot right now where it's just they're in survival mode, and it sucks because, like you said before, like they're playing so well overall, but then you have something like this on the back end. And look, we know how important a bullpen is when you are a team that's trying to actually win ball games, make a push, make a run, what have you. Look, it comes down to this, and this is why another reason why I said to you that I make these thumbnails for a reason, and there's a story behind all of them. And a big part of it, and having you on today, is we're in July, it just started. It's trade deadline month. You often put out that tweet saying, look, X amount of days until the deadline, X amount of days till the deadline. Now, mind you, a lot of those tweets were when this team was like really in the shitter, but either way, it still applies. And we are X amount of days now. We're less than 30 days away from the deadline. So you look at it and you can go, look, June was great. June was fantastic. You look at July and how this team does, and I'm going to say this now, I'm going to say how this team does really for maybe the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks of time is really going to paint the picture, not only for the Mets, but for a lot of teams that might be buyers or sellers. Absolutely. I think these next 2 weeks are really going to paint the picture and open things up and seeing what might be available and how teams are going to go. Will the Mets be buyers? Look, I'll say this, and I know me and John have been trying to get away from buyer-seller talk, but it's starting to apply now because it is July and this is the month. I look at it and I go, if this team continues the route that they're on and they can self-correct a little bit when it comes to the pen and still be fighting and being in a playoff spot, a wild card spot, I should say, I think that this team could be a very, very soft buyer. Yeah. Because I think people are looking at it and going, oh, you can get, they'll throw out big names or whatever. But I think what you and Key are doing is proper. You're looking at other names. Just like, I think that people need to, and I say this now, even though I know Mets fans won't do it. You've seen what David Stearns has done with his bullpen to this point, the best of his abilities, trying to find things where he can. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the same thing that happens at the deadline 100%. Where he finds a name and he 1000%. Brings someone in, and a lot of people are going to go, that's it? Like, that's the guy? Like, that's all you're going to do? And it's like, 1000%. Well, wait a minute. Like, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the peripherals. Let's see what this guy can bring to the table. And if there's anyone that should deserve the trust of everybody, it's David Stearns when it comes to building a bullpen. Look, I'm not sure if it's going to be the sexiest of names. I know the easy name is to say is Tanner Scott because he's the best one that's out there. Right. But don't be shocked when they bring in someone else and it can still provide for this team. But if they can still float and be around in this area, I think that odds are they can be soft buyers at the same time as being a potential soft seller. If someone says to him, hey, we want to get an extra arm, are you willing to sell one of our stars? We saw the Puma article today saying how, teams are calling the Mets, you have a lot of starting pitching, are any available? Will they do that? Or are they going to say, look, we're not getting what we need from the bullpen. We don't like how the market is developing. We're going to use some of these starters in the bullpen instead. Look, I don't know how they're going to do it. But that's why I'm saying I think these next 2 weeks are very important. It's moving day, essentially. It's moving week. That this is your chance to move up the standings and show that you should be a buyer. So for all those guys that are on this team that think we are a good team, we believe in ourselves, we're ready to make a push. These next 2 weeks, you kicked ass in June. You got to do it for these next 2 weeks to show, hey, don't give up on us. Don't take away from us. Let's add to this.
100%. And we're talking about 2 weeks, right? The next 2 weeks pretty much end at the All-Star break. So you got the Nationals, you got the Pirates, you got the Nationals, and you got the Rockies. If you want to be a hard buyer, you go crazy with them all.
You go crazy, yes.
Right, but to me, I think the path is soft buy and soft sell.
Yeah.
I think that's the path, personally, a path we've never taken as an organization. But now that we have David Stearns, we can take it. You know, and I don't want to expose too much for what me and my brother have planned. But
of course,
look, today we talked about Kyle Finnegan. We have videos about defensive specialists coming out. Check for that Friday, by the way. With no offense, guys. Zero offense, but literally one of the best defenders in baseball. We're doing a video on him because we need a left-handed outfielder that isn't Jeff McNeil, because it's not fair to Jeff McNeil to be in the outfield. Yeah, he could do it. That doesn't mean we should have him out there, right? You know, that's the point is to have your best players play to their best ability when they can. And we feel that a left-handed, bat that can play really good defense is a need for this team, along with a lot of the bullpen help that I feel like we've been, like, my brother was a big Kyle Finnegan fan. I hear the name Tanner Scott, absolutely. Yep. That's a name that's definitely circling around. But you don't hear names like Cal Quantrill, like guys like that. There's so many routes that the Mets can go. And, if you didn't notice today, a very average starting pitcher got traded for a player to be named later that's an infielder. So the market for starting pitching already has been kind of like, the line has been drawn in the sand right now. To get a pretty much an average arm, all you got to do is give up an infielder that's probably in Double-A, a single high A. If you really want to get crazy, then up the ante. But the Mets have plenty of ammo in that department. And they have a blockage of players in a lot of positions. The Mets can do a lot of things. And I think the Mets, I want to be, to name another guy, Kirby Yates. Shout out to my man Jay Fern. He's been big on the Kirby Yates train. That's another name. To go down a route, another
older guy too.
And you can get him for cheap. It's not going to cost you a ton. To get a guy in the building that can help you for 2 months, that's going to cost you relatively nothing, that you're probably going to replace that position when David Stearns has his draft in about, a month, is big. You know what I'm saying? I personally feel you can also get better by being soft sellers. And that's a conversation that a lot of people haven't had yet. I think if you got to move something, if you're going to be a soft buyer, let's say you give up a really talented future catcher, like a Parada. Everyone wants to trade Parada, right?
Right.
Well, there's ways that you can replace that position in the draft if it becomes available, or you can replace it by soft selling. The Mets have pretty much answered their backup catcher situation within season via trade that, probably is maybe the most underrated move of the year so far. And the Mets needed it like air. So, and that was a soft sell move. We needed to do that. You know what I'm saying? So there's ways to go about this. There's ways to get better. I personally believe you also unfortunately have to wait a few more weeks because God forbid injuries occur. You could become desperate. Other teams can become desperate. But my number one stance for this team going into this deadline, and I've been a big proponent of this deadline, is you cannot, and I mean you cannot, be very, very lax with all this bunch at the wild card. You cannot have wild card teams jump you and get your targets. It'll be a huge, huge hit to the fan base. It'll be a huge, huge hit to the mentality of the team. We can't have that. And I think right now, David Stearns has proved that is not going to happen. He's going to make sure all the problems kind of get glued in and fixed.
As we always say, you say it, I say it, John says it, trust in David Stearns, allow the process to play out. And look, if there's one guy we can trust in all this, it's him. It doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy job because his team isn't going to make it easy for him to think whether buy, sell. Like we're saying, soft buy, soft sell. But either way, I trust him 100%. A little bit of breaking news here from Matt Rivera. So with Shea checking in, saying the Mets released Trace Thompson. It's being reported by Michael Mayer as well as Will Salmon. So there's some news for you right there.
Did he ask for his release? Or was that just an organization? Because I think he's at that stage where he can ask for his release, right? Or something like that?
That I wasn't sure of. The way he typed it seems as though it was just an outright release. But
surprising, he was hitting.
Yeah. And then we also have Ant coming in saying, bring me Fetty, my favorite trade target. Still my favorite episode of Subway to Shea when you and your brother were on there screaming about Eric Fetty.
Easter egg. There's an Easter egg to the story. If you just go to YouTube tomorrow at 9:00, you might see something in the Shea and Suds account Wink, wink, Ant. Wink, wink.
I love it. I love it. I'll definitely be checking it out. But
Oh, he was granted his
granted,
release.
granted,
So he asked. Okay, so he asked to be released. Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you for
I had a feeling because I was like, that guy's hitting. There's no way the Mets is just gonna cut him out, right?
Yeah.
But okay, cool. Fair enough.
Before I jump into my final thing, before we get out of here, I did forget to do my my sponsor reads. I don't want to get in trouble with that, so I got to do my sponsor.
Do your thing, brother. Do your thing. Pay the bills.
Let me throw in something real quick, as always, for Independent Safes. IndependentSafes.com, protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes, fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit IndependentSafes.com today for security that stands strong. And of course, if you guys heard that episode of Subway to Shea, you would have thought that Keith and Ant, as they were screaming on our, at the hour mark of the episode where they were about to sign off, and I was the ass that threw into the comments that the team was looking at going after Eric Fetty. They went off the rails. You would think that they wanted to put Eric Fetty in.
That was you, right?
Safe. That was me.
That was you.
Hey, I'm always in the comments, man. I'm always in those comments. But
wow,
still hilarious.
What a day!
Independent. Yeah.
Can I point something out about that day? By the way,
yeah.
I just want to point out, me and my brother did some homework.
Okay.
This is why you got to tune into Subway to Shea. I mean, Shea and Sons also Subway to Shea. Tune into to Anthony's stuff too. We did some homework. We found out that if you pay attention to David Stearns the way we do, we kind of feel like he's kind of a madman. He's kind of crazy. You know, he reminds me, of, I don't know if anybody here watches The Bear, best show on TV, by the way. He's like Carmi. He's insane. He's crazy. I love him. But when he struck out on Eric Fetty, which he did, because apparently he wasn't guaranteeing him a starter's role because he probably didn't know how many starters he was going to have. It's probably what happened, right? He probably couldn't give a definite answer. The White Sox, who cares? Yeah, you'll start, whatever. That's probably what happened. And David Stearns, it only took him 7 days later to make his ulterior move, which probably was his plan B or C. He went and got homeboy from the Brewers, the bullpen guy now. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. He got Hauser and Tyrone Taylor just 7 days later. So, at which he probably had a conversation with Hauser, knowing he probably will end up in the pen at some point, which is probably a conversation he probably had with Eric Fetty. Didn't go so well. Whatever you may have it. The point is that the man has a plan. And the man knows when plan A or plan B doesn't work, he has a plan C and a plan D. So big up David Stearns. Took him 7 days, just 7 days after.
And speaking of plans, if you have plans to look good this summer, make sure you head on over to MANSCAPED, where you can get 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code TMDUP at checkout. Get 20% off plus free shipping. Again, tell them Till Mets sent you. Look, I use the products. I promote the products plenty. They're all right here. It works. You got the crop preserver. You got the ball deodorant. You got whatever. You got the weed whacker.
It's a great gift, ladies, to get your man. Trust me. My girl got me one as a gift. I still use it. It's a great gift.
Look, I'm thankful for Manscaped for sending me this one, but I also have other ones as well prior to this partnership that we put up with them. But shout out to Manscaped. And again, promo code TMDUP. It's right over there in the corner next to KEEF. TMDUP, 20% off. Get your free shipping at checkout. So, one last thing I want to throw out there, because I love doing my On the Farm segment. And I know you are into the farm as well when it comes to prospects and things like that. We're all trying to get sharper when it comes to these things. So when we're going down on the farm, we got to bring up one guy who I think has really risen his stock this season, and that is Jonah Tong. Jonah Tong has been awesome down there. His last 3 starts for Brooklyn, 16 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned, 6 walks, 25 strikeouts. He's pitching to a .56 ERA with a .69 whip. Look, I've been saying this about this organization. I love where we are in terms of the pitching, because when we came into the offseason, everyone was talking about, how the offense can finally take a step forward. We were talking about Jet Williams and Drew Gilbert and Luis Angel Acuna, Kevin Parada, all these guys. And look, injuries have sapped all of them. Yeah. But the pitching has truly stepped up. We're getting the likes of Jonah Tong. You're seeing more from Blade Tidwell. Shout out to Brandon Sproat, who's in the Futures game, who has been phenomenal. And we might be seeing his name at some point next year. So him and the idea of him and Christian Scott in the same rotation. Look, things we can dream about and picture maybe at some point next year. But the pitching development has been key for this team, because as we see, there's a lot of openings that can happen for this
Oh,
team come
sure.
the offseason
Oh,
when
for
it
sure.
comes to the pitching. So some of these guys are going to get opportunities. So when we're watching these guys, perform at the level and the hyper aggressiveness that has been put out by David Stearns and his people when it comes to moving guys up and down, like that is a really good thing to see. Another guy, Nolan McLean, fun to watch, strikes out at a near 50% rate, even though he hits bombs of homers. But look, he does have a potential future as reliever because he does throw well. So look, there's a lot of good going on within the Mets system. And what are your thoughts on the system in general?
I'm enjoying it. I think there's a lot of promise. I think there's a lot of progression as a whole. I think that's the biggest point. I think what we're seeing from the arms is a delight. I think Jonah Tong has been probably my second favorite prospect outside of Brandon Sproat, who I love. I am a big Brandon Sproat has like star potential. I feel personally he has the stuff. Just got to stay a little healthy, and I think he'll be great. If you could sit here and I could tell you in 2026, you got a front three of Christian Scott, Jonah Tong, and Brandon Sproat in some combination, that would be something that a lot of Met fans will sign up for. You're developing from within. You're becoming what a lot of Met fans criticize them for so long. Oh, the Mets used to develop pitching. What happened? Well, they're doing it. It just takes time. That is a staple of David Stearns. It is a very important piece to become a sustainable winner. And, you have to layer on from, AAA all the way down to high A. So it's very, very nice to see Jonathan find success. Very excited for when he gets that promotion. I'm excited for a lot of the other guys. I'm also, interestingly enough, I'm excited for a lot of the guys who have been hurt. I think that this has been a very good learning experience. When you're hurt and you're on the shelf and you're watching a lot of things kind of happen, right? You're probably eager to get back out there, especially for these professionals, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then a lot of slots are opening up, to your point, Ibby. A lot of slots are opening up, and back to my metaphor, iron sharpens iron. You want to be called up to the show. You're going to do everything you can to get back to your playing ways, to do everything you can. Who's to say there's a kid down there saying, man, my spot is blocked, but look what happened to Mark Veintos. His spot was blocked, right? And he made the best of his situation. So, it's a big thing. It also, unfortunately, the ugly side of it is that when you develop a lot of good players, not all of them will make it. But it also helps the organization in a lot of other ways. So the point is that they're getting to a real healthy spot. I think the farm is still some ways away, personally. But when you got kind of like standouts in Brooklyn, you got standouts in Binghamton, and you got standouts in AAA, something is definitely cooking down there for sure.
And it's a breath of fresh air because we've been wanting that for the longest of times. And shout out to Armand here for bringing up. I should have said him as well. Ryan, the big red dog Clifford, is obviously bringing the power, and he has one of the most interesting lines where he's like batting $175, but his OPS is like nearly 900. He's been on fire lately, and he gets on base at a ridiculous clip. So shout out to him for really stepping up. And a lot of people called him the hidden gem of that Verlander deal, more so than Drew Gilbert. Look, we all want to see Drew Gilbert get healthy and see what he can provide as well. But I do think that trade can end up really proving out to be a huge win for them. But again, it's going to take some time.
There's also one guy that's really starting to cook, and I think he might be knocking on that door very soon. Luis Angel Acuna, man.
Look, I've had Acuna on the farm segment for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and his numbers continue to go up. And I said it in Ant's Space earlier today. I was like, I wish that he does. I hope that he gets a shot. I remember when I had Tone on. Tone didn't think he would get the call, and I understood his points. But I really hope he does, because the bottom half of this lineup, if you add something like that, even when you are someone that doesn't have the biggest of bats, everyone sees the last name and they assume his brother, he's going to be like that. It's like, no, he's a different type of player. He doesn't have that type of power. But when he has 27 stolen bags already, you look at it and you go, look, if this guy can be a competent hitter, I don't care if he's a singles hitter. Singles then turn into doubles because he's stealing bags. And that's something that if you add stolen base potential to the bottom half of this lineup, it creates a little bit of turnover. You get back 100%. To the top. You got Lindor, you got Nimmo, you got JD. It's like you can really start, filling out this lineup even more. I hope he gets a shot. Maybe he will. I know he's been going back and forth when it comes to, second and short and center field. I know he's starting center field tonight and leading off. Maybe they're going to put him more in center field lately because they're curious about, what might happen with Harrison Bader, seeing how he tests out, if he's going to, need a little extended time. I don't know. But it is good that he is adding more to his repertoire, if you will, and being able to provide in different spots, because
ups the value too.
Ups your value and allows you to say, hey, I can help this team anyway. So getting that type of speed, like you were saying before, talking about looking at guys that are defensive outfielders, defensive first players, like getting little things here and there on as you're pushing, all those things matter. And eventually all these wins are going to matter even more. So adding some speed, I think, could be a definite big thing. Shout out to the chat once again. 275 of you are here. We're gonna get out of here, but we're an hour and 14 in. Appreciate each and every one of you.
Man, that flew.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it goes by quick. Shout out to Douglas Barnes. You're saying Keith killing a great show.
Oh man, thank you.
Thank you, bro. Look, Doug's a good guy. He's always in the him. I'll say this: Doug and John have their back and forths on Twitter. It's hilarious to watch, but Doug is always here, and we appreciate him on here. So thank you so much, DJ over on the Twitter side saying, "Great show, gents. Appreciate thank you, man, for being here." I think that was your first time here, so appreciate you being here, man. And of course, CP saying, "Just watch Christian Scott warming up in the outfield."
Oh yeah, he's out there.
For this start, let's take this damn series. My man is leading the Let's Go Mets chants out in enemy territory. I know he's out there living in DC, but love it, CP. Keep doing all the great work that you do. But seriously, shout out to everyone in the chat. Love every one of you. It's been a lot of fun. And Keith, like you said, it did fly by, but I appreciate you coming on, my friend. It was a great conversation like I thought it would be. A lot of great back and forth. And like, again, I like taking the overarching view because I think that is what really, plays better when we have a conversation like this. And again, I say this all the time. People don't believe it, what have you. I said to Keith, look, here's the potential, a little bit of a rundown, but let's just have a conversation, man. Yes, we talked for 20 minutes before we even went on air. Felt it there. We went for an hour and 15. It flew by. Great show. Appreciate you, my friend. One last time, plug all your stuff.
Well, before I plug anything, who's winning Money in the Bank? I had to.
Jey Uso's going to win.
Jey Uso? Okay. I'm going LA Knight, but definitely LA Knight or Jey Uso for sure. Jey
Uso's going to win.
Check me and my brother out. Shay and Sons on Twitter and on YouTube. That's where you'll definitely find us. We're dropping trade target videos every day, 9 a.m. Check us out on Twitter or at YouTube. We'll post the link. And we're going to be doing a live definitely this weekend because we got some flamethrowers in Pittsburgh we're going to be facing. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about the wild card race as well. But definitely find me and my brother. You can find me on Twitter, Kicking It with Keith. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If we can have a dope conversation, I'll definitely be there for you. I love to post memes. I love to be funny. So I love to have fun. Don't take me too serious, bro. Like, I'm just there to have fun. Like, relax. Don't be so tense, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I love the Mets, but I also hate them too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. It's just the truth.
Great stuff, man. I really appreciate it. Again, thank you for the time. We went a little bit over an hour.
Tiffy time for the women, right? Are we doing Tiffy time for the women or Chelsea Green?
I'm thinking. I think it's Tiff. No, I think it's Tiff. I think Tiff's gonna win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Chelsea won. But I'm gonna go Tiff.
I think I might pop if it's Chelsea, but I expect Tiff to win. I might go crazy if it's Tiff, though.
I think Tiff will take it.
Fair enough.
But again, shout out to everyone here. Again, 270 plus of you. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it.
Follow the brothers, man.
Appreciate it. Follow me at my ad over here at @poise_ibby. Follow John. Follow the show account at tilmetsdouspart everywhere. You can download this on all your favorite platforms when it comes to audio. In a couple of hours, it'll be out. This is going to live on YouTube forever. So please like the video, sub the channel, follow Key, follow his brother Key. They always doing great stuff. Again, look at all their stuff on YouTube as well. We're all trying to grow here. We're on the road to 800 subs over here. You guys are pushing 400, almost 500 subs, whatever it may be.
350, get into the 400 mark. Slow but steady,
Look, understanding this algorithm is never easy. So again, it's always ever changing. So we're going to keep doing our best to keep growing. But shout out to everyone here for all the love and the respect. Let's go Mets. Let's win a series.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, July is going to be very important for this team, and we'll find out if we'll find out who David Stearns truly is in the coming weeks. And it should be fun. But thank you again, Keith.
Thank
shout
you.
Out to everyone here.
Shout out John, man.
LGN. Shout out to John wherever he is. Be careful on those Twitter streets. He's everywhere. But again, thank you so much. And let's go Mets. And the game's on right now, so enjoy it. I'll see you guys.
LGM.